Welcome to the 6 Miles to Supper podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Cox, and I've lost over 80 pounds with intermittent fasting 6 days a week, eating whatever I wanted at my meals, taking a cheat day every Sunday, and walking 6 miles a day. And I'm here to help you on your weight loss journey. In today's episode, we're going to talk about taking care of your body, especially your feet, when you're walking 6 miles every day or doing any kind of exercise every day. This was a topic that was requested by a listener. And remember, if you have a topic for the podcast that you would like to request, please do so over at my website, 6milestosupper.com/podcast. There's a little form you can fill out and submit. And if you submit a topic that I haven't covered before and that I feel like I can talk about halfway intelligently, I'll do so on the show. Also, I'd like to announce that I was just recently on the podcast, Tammy for a Change, and the host, Tammy Haldeman, was kind enough to interview me. It was a wide-ranging kind of interview. We talked about fasting. She's also an intermittent faster, but we also talked about self-talk, positive self-talk, and how we're trying to make the world a better place. And I talked a little bit about full-time RVing. So go check that out. I will leave the link in the show notes, and or you can find her podcast just by searching Tammy for a Change on your favorite podcast app. So let's talk about taking care of your body, especially your feet, when you are walking. You know, when you're in the walking habit, and I walk 6 miles 6 days a week. I used to walk 6 miles 7 days a week, and occasionally I will walk, 6 miles 7 days a week. And that's a lot of miles to put on your feet and to put on your shoes. It's about 1,800 miles if I'm doing 6 days a week. If I'm doing 7 days a week, it's over 2,000 miles a year. So that's a lot of miles, and that's a lot of wear and tear, right? So over time, I've found, for me at least, that walking has been one of the really excellent things has been I don't experience that same kind of rundown feeling on my body that I have with other kinds of exercise. I mean, my whole life I've struggled with weight, so I've run the gamut of exercise routines. When I was a kid, a lot of times I did the Richard Simmons Sweating to the Oldies tapes, with the dancing. I've done Type O. I've done, more recently, like in 2015, I tried CrossFit. I did powerlifting. In 2014, I would occasionally try to get in the habit of running 3 miles every day or jogging. It was really slow, but still, I would do that 3 miles a day. I've tried sprinting really hard. I've tried high intensity interval workouts. I've done everything. And what I can say is that, all that other stuff, usually I would either injure myself or I would experience a lot of pain with that, a lot of knee pain, a lot of back pain. But with walking, I don't experience that. But I have learned some things about, how to take care of my body while walking. Now, the first thing I want to say is that if you're currently sedentary and you're trying to get active, and maybe you're going to do walking, the thing is that even the walking, it takes time to get into the habit. And like, if you're out of shape, you're going to experience some soreness and that kind of thing, even if you're doing everything right. And so the important thing is to find that line between, a little discomfort that you may be feeling just because you're doing something new, you're using muscles you've not really used, and you cross that line when it becomes pain. And pain is your body's way of saying, stop. There's this Marine Corps phrase that says pain is weakness leaving the body. And, I reject that basically. I mean, sometimes I have told myself that. And that's really more the discomfort side of things. Discomfort is, weakness leaving the body, I think. But when it gets over into pain, you need to stop. In the past, when I haven't listened to my body, that's when I've gotten myself into trouble. I mean, that I hurt my back doing a deadlift back in 2015, and that derailed my progress that I was making. So listen to your body. Above all, listen to your body. And, also when you're figuring out like how much mileage, because I remember, when I first started walking 6 miles a day, I worried. I thought, is that too many miles? I mean, is that going to hurt my body to walk that far every day? And what I told myself was, well, I'm going to try it and I'm going to listen to my body. And if it feels like too much wear and tear, I will stop. But again, I've felt great. So I would encourage you, listen to your body, because everyone's body is different. And when you're carrying around more weight, you are going to experience more soreness and things like that. Listen to that. Listen to your body. If your body is saying, hey, I need to take a break, take a break. I do that all the time. I still do that with my steps. When I am going for a walk, if I want to sit down, I will sit down and take a break. And, if I'm getting my steps inside, I'll sit down and take a break, like after every 1,000 steps if I want to. Because some days it's just hard to get the motivation to do the thing that you want to do. So do it however you need to do it. Listen to your body, take frequent breaks, and then learn how to stop when you've done enough. And that is a really hard thing. That was something that it was difficult for me to learn. For me, when I got up to 6 miles a day, I said, that's enough. Anything more than that was going to be too much on my body. It was going to be too much on my mind and too much on my body to try to get that in every day. So know that line, start to understand yourself, and then always pay attention continually to what your body is telling you. And in my experience, even though in the beginning I did experience more back pain, knee pain, even foot pain, especially like when I was trying to run, I would experience a lot of arch pain. But getting the weight off helped all of that. I mean, I really don't have very much back, knee, or foot pain anymore. And when I really look back, I don't really think it has anything to do with any kind of shoes that I'm wearing now that I wasn't back then, or any kind of gear or anything like that. It was just about getting the weight off and keeping it off and staying active too. And the main thing to remember is to keep this enjoyable. Like if your feet are hurting, you're not going to enjoy this and you're not going to stick with it. So stop, back off the step count. Like if you're finding like, oh, wow, I'm just like really miserable the next day, then back it off and you'll get used to it. Over time, you will be able to increase your steps slowly and you'll get to that goal. But just remember to kind of baby step it up so that you're always enjoying this. And another kind of general principle is, if you notice something is happening, say with your feet, like if you're getting blisters, then take action on it. Don't just like try to tough it out or anything. Like if you see that your shoes are making your feet blister, then get some different shoes or go barefoot. Like if your budget's really tight, then go barefoot. And I'm going to talk a little bit about barefoot walking because that's really my favorite way to walk. And also keeping your toenails trimmed so that they don't cause problems. I keep mine, just try to make it straight across the nail, kind of go with the shape of the nail. I used to get a lot of ingrown toenails, and I think that was because I was clipping them too short. I kind of go into the nail bed, and I've gotten out of that habit, and I have not had ingrown toenails. I think also because losing the weight has helped with that too, I think. So let's talk about barefoot walking because, if you're just thinking to yourself, if you've got a lot of foot pain anyway, and maybe you don't have a budget to go out and buy a new pair of shoes, I like barefoot walking. When I first got into the walking habit, I mainly got them inside my house and I would go barefoot. And here's why. It was easy. And I would make up a lot of excuses otherwise. And so I told myself, I'm not going to wear shoes while I'm walking, because if I had to do that, if I had to go put on my shoes and all that stuff, I knew that was just going to put up another barrier, another excuse, oh, well, I didn't have time, but instead, if it's no, I can get up and get them in whenever, wherever I am and whatever's going on, then I was able to get my steps in. And I've found your feet are really amazing. I read a great book called Born to Run, and I read that back in 2014. And it had a lot in there about the mechanics of your feet and just really how going barefoot is really, it seems like it's a very good idea, just health-wise, because you're created, to run and to walk, barefoot. And sometimes the shoes can kind of get in the way of the proper mechanics. And, the great thing about feet, they never wear out. I've never had to replace mine. And it's just amazing to me that shoes wear out over time. I mean, I've gone through, I don't know how many pairs of shoes at this point after so many years of just walking so much. And the great thing about it is if you go barefoot, just having your bare feet on the grass or on the ground, it connects you to nature and it's a really calming kind of experience. I've even done some barefoot hiking, which I've really enjoyed. It's kind of difficult depending on where you're at in the country to do this because, if you're out in the Florida heat during the summertime, I mean, the sand can get unbearably hot and can actually cause burns on the bottom of your feet. So, I mean, be very careful if you try barefoot hiking. But I really do enjoy it. I've hiked, 6 miles just in my bare feet regularly before, and I really do enjoy it. So don't let the fact that if you don't have shoes or you don't have a budget for shoes get in your way. Just walk barefoot. And you can walk inside your house. And so that way you don't even have to buy anything. It can be completely free. And you don't have to do as much laundry because you're not, wearing socks or anything like that. But now let's talk about shoes, because really the only thing with walking is, you probably want to have a pair of shoes, because more than likely you're going to go out and walk. You're going to go, maybe walk around your neighborhood, or you're going to go to a park, or maybe, you're going to walk on a treadmill inside your home. But I've found a few things about shoes that are really important to me. The first one is buy new, not used. And I made this mistake. I'm a very frugal person, like sometimes to an unhealthy extent, maybe. But I have tried buying pairs of used shoes, and I love to go to Goodwill and buy things, and I buy a lot of clothes used, but shoes have not worked out well for me. For one thing, I noticed a lot more knee pain when I would try to wear somebody else's shoes. I think because it kind of conforms to their foot, and so then if you're wearing something that was conformed to somebody else's foot and your foot is different, it's just going to, make your posture different. And that just doesn't work for me. So I do not buy used shoes. Another thing that would happen too, even if the fit felt okay, a lot of times they're worn out, like in the heel, and then that can start rubbing a blister on your foot. So I would just encourage you to go get a new pair of shoes when you need them. I wear New Balance Orishis, and I love those for a few reasons that I'll get into. But I would encourage you, figure out what brand and style works best for your foot. For example, I have kind of like a wider, thicker foot, and New Balance just works well for me. Nike, on the other hand, even though I love the way they look, they're too narrow. Like I made the mistake of buying a pair about a year ago, and they were just really too narrow. My toes were more sore on a regular basis, again, because they were being squeezed into that shoe. So, but I loved the way they looked. And so I bought them, but then I regretted it. And because I'm so frugal, I wouldn't replace them until I actually wore them out, which they weren't horrible. But I just want you to know everybody's foot is different. So just go try on a whole bunch of different kinds and see what works for your foot. Get the wide if you need the wide. Get whatever fits your foot so that you can have a nice, comfortable experience. Also, try to get some that are light. Lightweight shoes are a lot nicer than heavy, clunky shoes. Again, because you're going to be dragging your body weight with you. So every little bit helps. And then another really important thing to me is that they have a grippy bottom, like a rubber sole. And the thing is, there is this trend right now in shoes, and I really, really don't like it. There are so many pairs that are like just solid white on the bottom, and they're not grippy. Like they're really slick on the bottom. I don't ever wear those because I will fall and break my neck. So I like to make sure that like when I try them on, I get on some tile floor that's in the shoe store, and then I'll just kind of like rub my feet back and forth to make sure they're really going to grip. Because when you're out walking, sometimes you're on a slick sidewalk like that has, maybe it's kind of dirty and it's got water on it. You don't want to get hurt. And so don't cheap out, because a lot of times those slick bottom shoes, they're cheaper, but it's worth it just to spend a little bit more and get the really grippy bottoms, because you don't want to have an accident, because that's going to end up costing you a whole lot more money in doctor bills. So, get the grippy bottoms and make sure they fit your feet well. And also consider the color. Back a few years ago, I bought this pair of New Balance. I loved them, but they were black. And I was in Florida, and it was a really hot pair of shoes. I loved the way they felt otherwise, but I thought to myself, why did I get black? They were pretty. Again, it's like, I like the way they look. But again, if I had to go back and do it again, I would have bought, white or a nice light gray or something. And now here's the most important part. When they wear out, replace them. And again, look, I am frugal. I've got kids, so I tend to be the type of person who will kind of put herself last and, make sure the kids have everything they need. And, I don't like to buy for myself. However, I've regretted sometimes in the past. Like I'll tell you a story that just happened a few months ago, actually. My shoes, I had put about 1,000 miles on them. And I've found about 1,000 miles after that, I usually need to replace them because at that point, the treads are wearing down, they're getting slicker. And so So I was coming up to that point where I really needed to change my shoes and buy a new pair, but I kept putting it off. I kept thinking, it's almost Christmas time. I'll just get some new ones at Christmas. And then we were in the parking lot. It was raining and I was jogging to the car. And you know what happened? I slipped and fell right on my hip. Luckily, I wasn't hurt, but the whole reason I slipped was because of those slick bottom shoes. If I had replaced them when I knew that I should have, I probably would have never fallen. So just learn from me. Don't be like me. Go and get yourself a new pair whenever you need it. And look, and if you find out that the pair that you buy just doesn't work, replace it as soon as possible so that you're not getting, ingrown toenails or blisters and making things bad on yourself. So that's all about shoes. And really, that's the main thing. I do also wear socks, obviously, with them. I have some the thin ones. I really like the thin no-show kind. I use the Fruit of the Loom kind that I found at Walmart. But I do like thin, something that will dry quickly. I tend to have kind of sweaty feet, so I like things that are thin. I used to like a thicker sock, now I like thin socks. So again, go with what feels best on your foot. And then as far as other clothing, just make sure you're wearing, climate appropriate clothing. It depends on where you're at. I like to just walk in regular old athletic shorts and t-shirts. And of course, I have my Fitbit with me, and I love wireless earbuds to walk around. And, one thing I do want to mention, though, as far as staying safe, is if you're walking by yourself, it's probably not a great idea to put both earbuds into your ears and walk around like that. I have certainly found, especially walking in the woods by myself, that's not a great idea. Not only because, that takes away one of your senses, basically, and you may not hear somebody coming up behind you or just, an animal, but also, things could be falling from the treetops. I've had, branches fall nearby, and I've even been nearby a tree as it fell on a walk. So keep one earbud out so that you can hear what's going on around you. And, especially if you're walking alongside a road, you want to be able to hear traffic that's coming by. So stay safe, keep your body in good working order so you can continue to consistently hit your activity goals for yourself. And above all, listen to your body. If it's saying you need to slow down, take it easier, slow down, take it easier, and then work your way up slowly until you find that perfect point for you where it's like you're getting enough activity, but not too much activity, not enough to make you miserable, and never, ever get to the point where you're resenting what you're doing. So I hope that helps you. Walking, I love it, again, because it doesn't put that same kind of wear and tear on my body that other things have. And because of that, I've been able to consistently stick with it for years now. So thank you for listening to this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. This episode is brought to you by my latest book, Overcoming Weight Loss Obstacles: How to Keep Going When Things Get Difficult. Frustrating obstacles appear in every weight loss journey. Plateaus, overeating, slow weight loss, emotional eating, and weight gain are a few of the common roadblocks that we all face on the weight loss journey. The good news is, all these obstacles can be overcome. Each chapter in this book will mentally prepare you for the challenges you are likely to face and will give you tips on how to overcome each one. The link is in the show notes.